Before we begin, I want you to watch this all the way to the end, because if you stop too soon, you'll miss the part where the pain starts to make sense. You'll miss the moment where the silence turns into a strategy. You'll miss the shift that tells you it wasn't rejection, it was redirection. You've been asking, why hasn't love shown up yet? Why do you still wake up alone with hope in one hand and disappointment in the other? Why does it seem like everyone else is stepping into relationships while you're stuck in a season of waiting? The truth is, God's timing is not punishment, it's protection. And until you see His hand in the delay, you'll keep mistaking His preparation as His absence. You may not realize it now, but every not yet from heaven has been a not this for your good. You weren't denied love, you were denied the kind of love that would drain you. The kind that looks good in public but leaves you empty. In private, the kind that talks God but doesn't walk Him. The kind that flatters your fears but doesn't fight for your soul. God didn't say no because you're not worthy. He said no because He's too intentional to give you a relationship that doesn't align with His vision for your life. Psalm 84:11 says, "No good thing will He withhold from those who walk uprightly." That means if it hasn't come yet, then either it's not good for you, or it's not ready for you. Or maybe, just maybe, you're still being refined for the kind of love that doesn't just excite your heart but elevates your destiny. You are not just waiting for love, you are waiting for divine alignment. You are waiting for a union that makes sense in the spirit before it makes sense in the flesh. Because when God writes a love story, He doesn't skip the wilderness. He doesn't rush the waiting room. He lets you walk through lonely seasons to teach you how to love yourself before someone else tries to. He lets you heal from what broke you so you won't bleed all over the person He's preparing for you. He lets you pray when you're hurting so your roots grow deeper than your emotions. This is not punishment, this is placement. Isaiah 42:22 says, "When the time is right, I, the Lord, will make it happen." That means it's not about dating more, it's not about trying harder, it's not even about being good enough. It's about trusting that God, who saw your last heartbreak and stayed, is wise enough to guard your next connection until it's truly safe for your heart. And yes, I know it's hard to wait. I know the nights are long and the silence is heavy, but I also know this: you don't want a love that's born out of impatience, you want one birthed in prayer, covered by obedience, and sustained by grace. So if you're still waiting, it's because God is still working on you, on them, on the future He already wrote before your tears ever touched the pillow. You're not too late, you're not behind, and you're not forgotten. The same God who numbered your days has already numbered the steps of the one who will love you like Christ loves the church. So don't rush what heaven is still writing. Don't settle because you're tired of being strong. Galatians 6:9 reminds us, "Let us not grow weary in doing good, for at the proper time we will reap a harvest if we do not give up." That harvest includes love, but not just any love, the kind that looks like God had His hands all over it. So hold on, not just to the idea of love, but to the promise that God's timing is not just right, it's redemptive. And when that love finally shows up, you'll realize the wait wasn't a waste. It was the wisdom of a Father who loved you too much to let you settle for less than what He created for your soul. You keep asking why love hasn't shown up yet. But what if I told you it's already in motion, just not in the way you expected? Because love is not only about finding the right person, it's about becoming the kind of person who won't sabotage the very thing you've been praying for. And so, here you are, waiting, healing, evolving, not because you're forgotten, but because you were being formed, in silence, in solitude, in seasons that don't make sense to your natural mind. God has been chiseling away at things you didn't know would have ruined the relationship if it came too soon. You are not waiting in vain, you are waiting with vision. Every delay is divine because while you're learning how to love yourself without condition, God is teaching the one He's preparing for you how to love you without confusion. God is not sending you someone who is confused about your worth. He is not sending you someone who sees you as an option while keeping their eyes open for someone better. He's not writing a love story where you'll have to shrink, beg, or second-guess your value. The reason the wait feels long is because what He's writing doesn't come in pieces, it comes complete. Not perfect, but complete. Whole enough to handle your depth, mature enough to understand your calling, soft enough to handle your heart with reverence, healed enough to communicate with clarity instead of chaos, Spirit-led enough to cover you in prayer, not pressure. While you're sitting here questioning your worth based on someone's absence, Heaven is still writing the arrival, and not just their physical arrival, but the arrival of their healing, the moment their eyes open and they realize the same things you had to learn. That love isn't built on butterflies and chemistry, it's built on mutual surrender and divine timing. Proverbs 19:21 says, "Many are the plans in a person's heart, but it is the Lord's purpose that prevails." So yes, you may have had plans to be married by a certain age, plans to have children by now, plans to no longer be alone, but purpose is stronger than plans, and when God is in it, His purpose will always override your schedule. You don't want someone who just showed up. You want someone who's been prepared. You want someone who had to go through their own season of breaking, molding, surrender, and conviction. Someone who knows what it's like to need God so deeply that when they love you, they don't love from ego, they love from revelation. That kind of person doesn't rush to appear. That kind of person is refined in secret, just like you've been. That kind of love doesn't pop up in your inbox randomly. That kind of love is assigned, and God, being the author and finisher of your faith, is writing the chapters you haven't lived yet. You're thinking this is a delay, but He's saying this is construction. He's building something in both of you that will not only survive the storms but glorify Him in the process. Ecclesiastes 3:11 says, "He has made everything beautiful in its time, not before time, not on your birthday, not when loneliness peaks, in its time." And if God is making it beautiful, then trust it will be worth it. Stop thinking love hasn't shown up. Start believing that love is being sharpened, refined, purified, and made ready, just like you. And one day, the wait will make sense. One day, you'll look at them and say, "This is why I had to be single for so long, because what we have now couldn't have survived who I was back then." So don't waste the wait. Don't curse the quiet season. Don't get bitter because it looks like everyone else is finding someone while you're still wondering if God heard you. He did. He still does. And He's not just sending you someone to take away your loneliness. He's sending you someone to walk with you in purpose. Someone who understands the cost of your calling. Someone who won't confuse your passion with being too much. Someone who doesn't just want your body, they want your soul to thrive. That's why you're still waiting. Because this love has weight. This love has roots. This love had to be grown, not manufactured. And the deeper the root, the stronger the fruit. You're not behind. You're not being punished. You're being preserved. God is holding you both in place until your maturity catches up with your prayers, until their faith meets your intercession, until your spirits recognize each other, until it is time. Because when it is time, nothing will be able to stop it, not your past, not your pain, not even the time you feel like you've lost. Just keep holding on. Love is not late. It's just under construction. You've wondered if maybe the reason love hasn't come is because you're too intense, too emotional, too passionate, too deep, too much. You've asked yourself if maybe you're hard to love, if maybe your standards are too high or your presence is too heavy. You've been told to dim your light, shrink your voice, calm your fire, soften your strength. But hear me prophetically, you are not too much. You are just too much for the ones not called to carry your heart. The reason love hasn't arrived is not because you are wrong, it's because God is reserving you for someone who is built to handle you in your full anointing. Someone who won't be intimidated by your wisdom. Someone who won't shrink in the face of your spiritual fire. Someone who sees your depth not as a problem, but as a reflection of divine purpose. You weren't created to be tolerated, you were created to be treasured. So many times we lower ourselves thinking it'll make us more lovable. But the person who is for you will not ask you to be less so they can feel like more. They will honor your layers. They will value your voice. They will hold your vulnerability as sacred. Proverbs 31:11 says, "The heart of a husband safely trusts her." That kind of trust is not built overnight. It is not built with people who flinch at your process. It is built by two people who understand that love is not about convenience, about covenant. That's why God is guarding your heart right now. That's why love hasn't shown up the way you thought it would, because He won't let someone mishandle what He spent years refining. He won't let your loyalty be wasted again. He won't allow another season of you pouring out with nothing pouring back in. He knows your capacity to love deeply. He knows how you sacrifice, how you stay even when you're hurting, how you believe in people long after they've given you a reason not to. And He is saying to you now, "I'm not withholding love from you, I am protecting love for you." will not spend your life explaining your heart to someone who is never spiritually equipped to hold it. You will not beg someone to choose you when I've already written your name on someone's spirit. You will not apologize for your strength when I gave it to you for the calling on your life. Stop blaming yourself for why it hasn't happened yet. This isn't about your looks, your past, or your personality. This is about timing, alignment, and divine assignment. Ecclesiastes 3:1 says, "To everything there is a season, a time for every purpose under heaven." That includes love. And just because it hasn't come yet doesn't mean it won't come at all. Some things take time because they carry weight. You can't microwave covenant. You can't rush someone into spiritual maturity. You can't build a relationship on shallow foundations and expect it to survive deep storms. So yes, the wait hurts. Yes, it's lonely. Yes, you've seen others settle and wondered if you should do the same. But the reason you keep feeling this internal resistance when you try to lower your standard is because your spirit remembers what God promised even when your emotions want to give up. You are not waiting because something is wrong with you. You are waiting because there's something right with you that heaven is not willing to let be wasted. The person you're waiting for is not perfect, but they are being prepared, and so are you. When God finally releases that kind of love into your life, it won't feel like pressure. It won't feel like performance. It won't feel like guessing. It will feel like peace. It will feel like purpose. It will feel like confirmation. And when that moment comes, all the tears, confusion, delays, and doubts will collapse under the weight of this truth. God didn't forget about you. He was just making sure the love you receive next will be a mirror of His own. So wipe your tears, silence the voices that tell you you're asking for too much, and remember this: you are not too much. You are enough for the one who was sent by God to love you well. There are some people you loved that God had to remove, not because they were evil, but because their presence was too temporary for the kind of calling that rests on your life. There were doors that had to stay closed, not because you weren't enough to walk through them, but because what was behind them wasn't strong enough to carry what you were created to birth. You keep wondering why love hasn't shown up, but the truth is, it has tried to, but only in counterfeit form. It came dressed in charm but lacked character. It sounded good in the beginning, but couldn't stand the weight of commitment. It had the right appearance, but didn't come with spiritual substance. And if God had let that door stay open, you would have poured oil on what He was never going to bless. So yes, you cried, you mourned, you begged God to let them stay, to make it work, to keep the relationship alive, but God, in His mercy, chose silence over speed and said no. And that no has been your salvation. That no preserved the part of you that still believes in real love. That no protected the dreams He placed in you before you were even born. Because some doors weren't exits, they were tests. They weren't your future, they were a mirror. And when you walked away, even when it hurt, you graduated from a version of yourself that thought love meant settling. You stopped performing. You stopped begging. You stopped compromising your peace to keep company. You stopped trying to earn love through pain. And God smiled, not because you were alone, but because you were finally aligned. Isaiah 43:18-19 says, "Forget the former things, do not dwell on the past. See, I am doing a new thing. Now it springs up. Do you not perceive?" It's some of you are still grieving a relationship that was only designed to introduce you to yourself. You thought they were your forever, but they were only your awakening. They came to show you how much you still needed healing. They exposed the parts of you that confused being chosen with being needed, but they couldn't stay, because staying would have stunted your growth. And when God loves you, He removes anything that keeps you from your future, even if you beg Him to let it remain. So now here you are, not where you want to be, but not where you were. Stronger, wiser, more aware, more discerning. You no longer pray for just anyone. You pray for God's will. You no longer get distracted by red flags dressed in flattery. You no longer attach your worth to attention. You've matured, you've shifted, and love hasn't shown up yet, not because you're behind, but because God isn't just trying to give you a relationship, He's trying to protect a legacy. He's trying to break cycles in your bloodline through what you build next. He's trying to show your future children what love built on faith looks like. He's trying to build a union that won't just look good for pictures, but will carry power in the spirit. And that kind of love, that kind of covenant, it cannot be rushed. So yes, some doors had to stay shut. Some love stories had to end early. Some connections had to fade. but what is ahead of you is so much stronger than what tried to break you. Proverbs 16:9 says, "In their hearts humans plan their course, but the Lord establishes their steps." That means even your heartbreaks had purpose, even the delays were direction, even the silence was strategy. And while you're asking why, love hasn't shown up yet, heaven is already preparing a table you didn't know you needed. You haven't missed your moment. You haven't missed your miracle. You're just in the sacred space where God is healing what no one sees, so that the next time love shows up, it won't repeat the pain of the past. It will reflect the promise you almost gave up on. Stay ready, stay trusting, stay open to what's next, because when God opens the next door, you'll understand why He had to close every other one. It's hard to keep believing when everything around you feels still. When you've prayed, waited, hoped, healed, and still nothing. No texts, no open doors, no divine connections, no signs, just more silence, more months flipping off the calendar, more weddings you attend as a guest, more birthdays celebrated, alone, and in that stillness, doubt starts to whisper, maybe it's not coming, maybe it's too late, maybe God forgot. But here is the truth, you must bury deep in your spirit. Stillness does not mean stagnation. Silence is not abandonment. Delay is not denial. God is always working, even when your timeline feels like it's standing still. Isaiah 64:4 says, God acts on behalf of those who wait for Him. That means He doesn't forget His promises. He fulfills them in a way that surprises the world and restores your soul. You may not see movement, but heaven is shifting things behind the veil. God is pruning the unseen, tilling the ground you'll soon walk on, tearing down counterfeits and securing divine alignments. He's working on timing so perfect that when love does show up, it won't need to be rushed, forced, explained, or fixed. It will fit. But this kind of precision takes time. You're not just waiting for a person, you're waiting for a divine collision between your purpose and theirs. You're waiting for emotional maturity, spiritual readiness, and supernatural agreement to align in such a way that your relationship is more than comforted's kingdom. That's why it's taking long. That's why the silence has lasted this long. Because what you carry is weighty. What you're called to build requires endurance. Your heart is not cheap. Your soul is not disposable. Your love is not ordinary. Romans 8:25 says, if we hope for what we do not yet have, we wait for it patiently. But let's be honest, it doesn't feel patient, does it? It feels painful, and I get it. You're not asking for perfection. You just want presence. You just want someone who shows up, stays, and chooses you on purpose. But let me say this prophetically, God has not forgotten you. He's preserving you, because your future partner isn't just coming to hold your hand, they're coming to cover your calling. They're not just a date, they're a destiny decision. They're not just someone to share a home with, they're someone who will walk with you through warfare and worship, laughter and loss, obedience and overflow. You need someone who can pray you through a storm, not abandon you when the rain falls. And that kind of partner, that kind of covenant, cannot be created in a rush. So if you're in a quiet season, don't confuse God's silence with His absence. He's not ignoring you, He's protecting what you prayed for. He's saving you from choices that would delay you 5 more years. He's guarding your destiny from people who look like the answer but carry old wounds they haven't healed. He's not slow, He's strategic. 2 Peter 3:9 says, the Lord is not slow in keeping His promise, as some understand slowness. Instead, He is patient with you. Yes, He's patient with you, with them, with everything it takes to deliver a love story that won't collapse under the pressure of spiritual weight. So while it looks like nothing's moving, know this, your name is still in the mouth of God. Your future is still in motion. Your love story is still alive, hidden, yes, but not forgotten. Buried, maybe, but still breathing. When the time is right, it will rise. And when it rises, it will not fall. Because what God builds in secret, He reveals in glory. So wipe your tears, silence the panic, rest your weary heart. You are not overlooked, you are being prepared. And love is not late, it's just arriving in pieces you can't see yet.